Mika Whaitiri.
E te maanga i te whare, tēnā koe. O te ranga member te whare nei tēnā tātou katoa. Mr Speaker, Labour won't be supporting this bill, sir, not because Mika Whaitiri had some kind of road to America's conversion to mindless and spiteful opposition, but simply because it doesn't live up to what its intention was, Mr Speaker, and that was to provide tools to Māori landowners to better utilise their land, sir. Look, I've brought this as a demonstration of the amount of paper that the Select Committee, the reports, the submissions, that Select Committee, and I do want to support what the Minister said around the work of the Select Committee, sir. A very comprehensive bill, very comprehensive, and in true honesty, as a member of the, not actually a permanent member, but a member that subbed on throughout the consideration of this bill, I could definitely attest to this side of the House, particularly, sir, being very constructive members of that Select Committee to make sure that the bill, where we could make some changes, that we would definitely make those suggestions. And the Minister has acknowledged them, and I do want to say there are some good points in this bill. Obviously, the rangatopu option becoming optional. Before it was almost mandatory, but that's been a big change. But it was interesting to note, sir, during the Select Committee process that certain Māori organisations came to the Select Committee and wanted opt-out provisions. And so we've made some amendments in the bill for certain organisations to opt out. He mentioned the second chance meeting, which is in part 3, clause 51.8. I won't go into that. The Minister also touched on the clarification around the whāngai relationship, which is in part 8 of clause 8. And I want to also acknowledge the, and it's not a new provision in the bill, but the existing provision of the Act, which talks about the retention of the 75% threshold if land is to be sold by all the owners. So that's not a new provision, but it is retained in this bill as a commitment to retaining land. And of course, the Minister talked about the judge's appointment, sir. But I wanted to actually, Mr Speaker, refer members to those that appeared before the Select Committee. We had approximately 150 submitters. About 47 appeared before the Select Committee, and I too want to add my word of thanks to the many large, small, legal people that presented very compounding and passionate submissions to the Select Committee. But I just want to pull out a couple, sir, and as a way of saying why we believe the intent of the bill is a just intent, i.e. to provide the tools to landowners to better utilise your land. But we have reservations around the pace in which this has gone from the intent into this particular stage of the bill, sir, in terms of the second reading. And there's a lot of other issues with the bill that I hope to address in my contribution. But let's just turn to the Māori Land Court judges and their submission, sir. On page 2 of their submission, this is what they said. The bill is a high-risk approach to critical law reform affecting the taonga tuku iho that is Māori land. The bill will undermine existing Māori property rights. Key assumptions underpinning the bill are flawed. Aspects of the bill do not align with tikanga Māori, and the bill mainstreams Māori land and the Māori Land Court. Now, I heard the Minister say that many of the views put in the minority report is addressed, but I refute that position that the Minister is taking. The Māori Land Court judges haven't just submitted once on this bill, but they've submitted several times, once, twice, 3 times. In fact, it was their submission that I recall that the Minister tried to prevent it being admitted during the Waitangi Tribunal hearings. So, no, that is correct. That is correct. But, sir, let's move to another submitter, the New Zealand Human Rights Commission. in their submission, paragraph 23 and 24 of page 8 of their submission, where they say, given the government's human rights commitments as regards implementation of the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, the bill should both reflect and advance its principles. In the Commissioner's view, the application of the United Nations Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous Peoples principle of free, prior and informed consent reinforces the Waitangi Tribunal's finding that the bill presently does not have a sufficient mandate amongst Māori. Sir, I've given you 2 quotes. New Zealand, there are many that we contained in our report where major people had oppositions to this bill. So, sir, when I come down and look at what was the selling point of this bill, it was actually the tools to enable Māori landowners, and that was, sir, the Māori Land Service. And yes, the Minister has noted that his work's still progressing, but that was one of the fundamental underpins of this particular major land reform, was the creation of a Māori Land Service. And yet, the committee heard during the submission from the group that's working on the design that the business case is not coming to government until April 2017. April 2017, the business case has been presented. There is no guarantee that this government is going to commit ongoing funding, let alone take the recommendations of a business case that is not yet public. That is a real concern. We have concerns of the Māori Land Service around the delivery capability, sir, particularly when the intention of the Māori Land Service is to take over the succession orders of the Māori Land Court, a new disputes resolution that I do want to acknowledge the Māori Land Court believes we need, and the registry services that is currently founded in the Māori Land Court. These are major capabilities, sir, that Māori landowners are looking for some detail on, and yet they haven't been provided with it. There's also the issue, sir, of fees that have yet not been determined so that Māori landowners know what they're up for when they go to get succession orders. I thought that might have been really fundamental. There's also a very clear lack of a transition plan in the Māori Land Service as we move from the administrative services of the Māori Land Court into the Māori Land Service. We have no transitional plan. That's hugely risky to Māori landowners as to who they're supposed to deal with. Sir, and when you look at this bill and when you read the clauses and the various parts through it, you actually see the removing of some of the powers that were in the Māori Land Court. And I want to pick up that early point around delivery of capability, because at this current moment, the Māori Land Court is under restructuring, sir, where 30-odd very senior managers within the Māori Land Court, who not only hold a lot of this very important knowledge on behalf of local Māori landowners, but their jobs are going to be disestablished at the end of January. So the issue around a proposed entity yet to be established, the Māori Land Service, we totally support, but the process again, which this minister particularly is going down to and give some surety and some safety commitments to Māori landowners, that as they morph from the Māori Land Court into this new court, Māori Land Service, which is yet to be determined and designed, sir, that their rights to their land, their rights to their succession, their rights to their information around their land is safeguarded, sir. Look, in my closing, I've tried to outline why we're not supporting this bill, sir. Can I just take the indulgence of the committee, the House, for a couple of seconds and just acknowledge that 20,000 houses in Gisborne lost power yesterday. I've just received the note, sir, that they've got the power back on. I want to just say thank you to the Eastland Network Lines mechanics who worked overnight into the day to bring power back. Can I also send my condolences to the family of the 2 that lost their lives tragically in the plane crash. Sir, Labor cannot be supporting this bill. We stand by the reasons why, and it's up to the Minister and the Government to prove how this is going to benefit Māori landowners. Kia ora tātou.